Hello, I'm Jeslyn Wheeless, one of the children's librarians at the Summit Free Public Library. And I'm also a storyteller, and I teach storytelling in the summers at the library. Today, you're going to get to watch and listen to 6 wonderful young storytellers who are in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. They have learned to tell a story by memory in the oral tradition. And we've gone over with them all the techniques of public speaking, which are such important skills to have. So they know they must have enough volume, they must speak clearly and have good diction, use expression with their faces and their voices, good posture, gestures, and use of dialogue, and speed, not going too fast. These children have really learned their stories well, and I'm very pleased with them. And I hope you enjoy our program. Thank you.
My name is Julie, and today I will be telling the story of the magic porridge pot. Once upon a time, in a little village, at the end of the village street, a little girl and her mother lived in a small cottage. They were very poor, and often they had nothing to eat but a small loaf of bread. When their cabins were empty, the little girl would go out into the woods close to the house to search for berries and nuts. One day, when the girl went out to search for berries and nuts, she went searching. She was there for a while, but she couldn't find anything. Eventually, she just gave up her hope, and she sat down on a fallen tree branch and said to herself, "What will I do? I have nothing to eat, and neither will Mother. We will starve of death and die." Well, then she heard a crackly voice say, "Cheer up, my dear. You do not have to be scared." The girl popped up her head in surprise to see an old woman wearing a long black cloak. The woman said, "You will not need to be hungry anymore." And out of her black cloak, she pulled out a little black pot. The girl looked interested in what the woman had pulled out. The woman told her that it was a magic pot and said, "If you put it under the fire and say, 'Boil, little pot, boil,' it will fill up with delicious porridge." The girl was very surprised in the old woman. Then she said, "You must say to it, 'Stop, little pot, stop.'" The little girl was quite happy with her good fortune. Well, the little girl thanked the woman and started to go. She turned around one last time to take a close look at the woman, but she had vanished. The girl ran all the way home. Her mother said, "What have you there? This is not berries or nuts." The girl said, "This is a magic pot," and explained how an old woman in the forest had given her this pot and said that it was magic. The girl was eager to try out her new pot, so she set it under the fire and said, "Boil, little pot, boil." And sure enough, it filled up with delicious porridge. After that, they lived like this for a long time. One day, though, the girl decided she was going to go visit her friend on the other end of the village. She was there for a long while, and the mother got hungry. So she put the stove on the fire and said, "Boil, little pot, boil." And it filled up with delicious porridge. When she had what she wanted, she looked over at the pot again. "Oh my goodness," she thought to herself, "for I have forgotten the magic words to make my pot stop boiling." Then she yelled, "Halt, little pot, halt," at her pot. But that did no good. It just went faster, and it went all over the cottage. The mother went through the porridge slow and got to the door to let out the porridge. Then she said, "Enough, little pot, enough." She was running down the street yelling words at the pot, but none of them helped her. When she had gotten to the other end of the village where the girl was visiting, she said, "Help, help, the magic pot keeps boiling, boiling, and it won't stop." At once, the girl had guessed what had happened and what the mother meant and what the grandma meant by "don't forget the magic words." They went through the porridge very fast, which wasn't very fast to be going through porridge, And when she got to the house, she yelled, "Stop, Little Pot, stop! Stop, Little Pot, stop!" It stopped. After that, everyone came out of their houses carrying forks, plates, platters, pitchers, and anything else you could imagine to eat with. The villagers lived like this for a long time, happy, and never forgot the magic words to make the magic porridge pot stop boiling. The end.
Hello, my name is McKenna, and today I will be telling you the story of the three billy goats Gruff. Once upon a time, there lived three billy goats, and out of all the three billy goats was Gruff. They lived in the. There was very little grass on the hillside, and they wanted to go to the meadow where they could eat and get fat. But along the way, there was a bridge over a rustling river. And on the river lived a troll who was as mean as he was ugly. The littlest billy goat Gruff decided to cross the bridge first. Trip, trap, went the bridge. "Who's that tripping over my bridge?" roared the troll. "Oh, it is only I, the littlest billy goat Gruff," said the littlest billy goat Gruff. "I'm going to the hillside to eat and get fat." "No, you're not, for I am coming to gobble you up." Oh, please, don't take me. Take the second billy goat Gruff. He's much bigger." "Oh, very well, then you can be on your way." So off went the littlest billy goat Gruff. Then the second billy goat Gruff decided to cross the bridge. Trip, trap, went the bridge. "Who's that tripping over my bridge?" roared the troll. "Oh, it is only I, the second billy goat Gruff," whose voice was not small. "I am going to the meadow to eat and get fat." "No, you're not, for I am coming to gobble you up." "Oh, please, don't take me. Take the third billy goat Gruff. He's much bigger." "Oh, very well, then you can be on your way." And so off went the second billy goat Gruff. Along came the big billy goat Gruff. He was much bigger than the second. Trip, trap, went the bridge. "Who's that tripping over my bridge?" roared the troll. "Oh, it is only I, the big billy goat Gruff," whose voice was not small, whose voice was as loud as the troll's. "I'm going to the meadow to eat and get fat." "No, you're not, for I am coming to gobble you up." Oh, very well, then come up and try to gobble me up. But you'll see what I can do with my 2 horns and 4 hard hooves." And so up climbed the troll onto the top of the bridge. And the big billy goat Gruff butted him with his 2 horns and trampled him with his 4 hard hooves, and threw him into the rushing river. And off went the big billy goat Gruff to eat in the meadow with his brothers. At the end of the day, when the 3 billy goats were done eating, they got so fat that they could hardly walk home again. So snip, snap, snout, the tales told out. The end.
Hi, my name is Emma, and I will be telling the story of the babysitter. One evening, Mr. and Mrs. Brown were going out for their wedding anniversary, so they called the babysitter. And the babysitter said, Can I invite my friend too?" And they said yes. So the babysitter and the friend came over, and the parents left. They tucked in the baby, read it a lullaby, and it was fast asleep. So they went downstairs to watch TV. And a few hours later, they heard a ooh sound. So the babysitter went upstairs and into the baby's room, and she saw a greenish-whitish ghost. And the ghost said, "Do you know what I can do with my creepy, creepy fingers and ruby, ruby lips?" And the babysitter screamed and ran all the way home. Next, the friend was so fixated on the TV, she didn't even hear the babysitter scream. So a few hours later, the friend also heard the ooh sound coming from the baby's room. So she went upstairs to see what had happened. And in the room, there was a greenish-whitish ghost again. And the greenish-whitish ghost said, "Do you know what I can do with my creepy, creepy fingers and ruby, ruby lips?" And she screamed and ran all the way home. And the greenish-whitish ghost kept on making that ooh sound. And the next time it was so loud, it woke up the baby. And the greenish-whitish ghost went, "Do you know what I can do with my creepy, creepy fingers and ruby, ruby lips?" And the baby said, "No, what can you do?" And the greenish-whitish ghost went,
Hi, my name is Amy, and the story I'm going to be telling is called The 12 Dancing Princesses. Once upon a time, there was a king who had 12 daughters, and each one was more beautiful than the last. But when the king woke up each day, he found that the princesses' dancing shoes had been worn out. When the king asked the princesses where they had been all night, their only reply was that they had slept, yet the shoes could not have worn themselves out. Finally, the king declared that if any young man could figure out the secret of the princesses' dancing shoes, he would be able to choose one of the princesses as his bride. Now it happened that a young commoner named Michael happened to be traveling along when he fell asleep under the shade of an oak tree. When he awoke, an old woman was staring at him. "Where are you bound today, my son?" she asked him. Michael told her that he was headed to the village looking for work. He also told her that he was hoping to figure out the secret of the princess's dancing shoes. The woman said to him, "If you bide your time and use your wits, you just might have more success than the rest." Then she gave him a magical cloak and told him whenever he put it on, he would become invisible. She also told him that the castle gardener needed an assistant. Michael was pleased with his good fortune, thanked the woman, and headed for the village. He went straight to the gardener, and who indeed did need services. He agreed to take Michael on. Michael's first job was to give bouquets to each of the princesses as she walked out onto the terrace. All of the princesses grabbed the flowers without even looking at the lad, except for the youngest princess, Lena. "Oh, how handsome he is!" she exclaimed, "our new flower boy." Her sisters laughed and giggled, and the eldest pointed out she hadn't ought to lower herself by looking at an ordinary garden boy. Michael decided that night he would follow the princesses and try to figure out their secret. As a commoner, he dared not to go openly to the king, but to use the magical cloak. When the princesses were in their room and the doors were locked, the eldest clapped 3 times. A trap door opened up, and all of them walked through it. Michael followed closely behind, but not too closely, as not to step on one of the princesses' dresses. The princesses walked through 3 woods: a diamond wood, a gold wood, and a silver wood. Then they got on swan-shaped boats, and 12 princes rode over to a beautiful castle, none like Michael had ever seen nor imagined. The princes helped the princesses into the castle, and they began dancing. You see, the princes were really princes who had tried to figure out the princess's secret, but the eldest had given them all a drink that had frozen their hearts and left nothing but the love of dancing. When the princess's shoes were worn out, a delicious dinner was served, and the princesses returned home. As they were walking back, Michael picked off a branch from the silver forest and kept it with him as proof of what he had seen. The next morning, when he came to give the princesses bouquets, he stuck the silver branch into Lena's bouquet. When she found it, she was quite surprised, but said nothing to her sisters about it. The next night, Michael followed and took a gold branch as proof of what he had seen. He stuck it in Lena's bouquet. The next day she asked him where he had gotten it. "I followed you," Michael answered. "How did you manage it?" Lena cried. "I hid myself," Michael answered again. Lena was silent for a moment. Then she cried, "Now that you know our secret, you must promise to keep it." She threw down a purse of gold. "Here is your reward for silence." Michael walked away without picking up the purse. For 3 nights, Lena heard nor saw anything unusual. On the 4th night, however, she heard a rustling in the forest of the diamond trees, and the next day she found a diamond branch in her bouquet. She took Michael aside and asked him stoutly, Do you intend to tell our father of our secret dancing place?" "No, I don't," Michael answered. Lena asked, "Why not?" But Michael remained silent. The next day, Lena told her the sisters had seen Lena talking to the garden boy, and laughed at her when she came in. "Why don't you marry him so that you can give us our bouquets every day too?" they giggled. The teasing greatly disturbed Lena, so one day she told her eldest sister everything about how Michael was following them. "What?" the eldest cried. "How could you wait so long to tell me? We must get rid of him at once." "How?" Lena asked. "By throwing him in the dungeon, of course." Lena persuaded her sister to discuss the matter with the other sisters. They all agreed that they would give Michael the drink that would freeze his heart, like the other princes. Michael was working in the garden right next to the princess's room and overheard their plan. He decided that he would go to the ball that night and try to win Lena's heart. If necessary, he would take the drink. When he got to his room, he found a fine suit and an invitation to that night's ball. He put his magical cloak over his finery and followed the princesses down through the forests from the boats into the castle. He arrived at the castle and helped each princess off their boat. He danced with each princess in turn, and at last it was time for him to dance with Lena. He found her the best partner in the world, although her smile seemed almost sad. When the princesses' shoes were worn out, they all sat down at a large table. Michael was seated at the head of the table because he was the guest of honor. When everyone was finished eating, the eldest sister made a sign, and a cabin boy brought out a cup. He offered it to Michael, and Michael looked at the youngest princess one last time. He accepted the drink. Just as he was about to drink it, the youngest princess, Lena, cried, "Wait! Stop! Don't drink that!" She yelled. "I'd rather be a gardener's wife than have you enchanted forever." Michael threw the cup behind him, and behind him. The spell was broken. All the princesses fell on their knees and begged the princesses never to do that again to anyone. They all left the castle They all left the magical land to tell the king of their secret. Michael led the princesses out of the palace. When they went to the king, he was eating breakfast in his chambers. Michael told the king the story of where the princesses went and how they got there. The king was quite amused. "Is this true?" he asked the princesses. "Yes," they all agreed. They all said. "Very well then," the king said. "You may choose one of the princesses for your bride." Michael said to the king, "My mind is already made up," and he held his hand out to Lena, the youngest princess. They were married the very next day, and the king declared that when he died, Michael would become the new king.
My name is Smoochie, and the story I will be telling is Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Goldilocks. "What a sweet child," said someone new in town. "That's what you think," said a neighbor. One morning, Goldilocks' mother sent Goldilocks to buy muffins from the next village. "You promised not to take the shortcut? I heard that the bears live there." "I promised," said Goldilocks, but to tell the truth, Goldilocks was one of those girls who do exactly as they please. Meanwhile, in the forest, in a clearing of their own, a family of brown bears was sitting down to breakfast. "Patoo!" cried big old Papa Bear. "My porridge is scalding! I've burned my tongue!" "I'm dying!" cried Baby Bear. "Not really," said Mama Bear, who was of medium size. "That's quite enough." "I know," said Papa Bear. "How about while our porridge is cooling we go out for a spin?" "Excellent!" cried Mama Bear. And so off they went on their rusty old bike. A few moments later, Goldilocks arrived at the bear's house. She didn't even bother to knock. She walked right in. On the dining table there were 3 inviting bowls of porridge. "I don't mind if I do," said Goldilocks, helping herself to the biggest bowl. "Patoo!" she cried. The porridge in that bowl was much too hot. Next she tasted the porridge in the medium-sized bowl, but that porridge was much too cold. Finally she tasted the porridge in the little bowl. It was just right, neither too hot or neither too cold. She liked it so much she gobbled it all up. Next, Goldilocks went in the living room. There were 3 chairs. "I don't mind if I do," said Goldilocks, climbing into the biggest chair. But that chair was much too uncomfortable. Goldilocks just couldn't get comfortable. Next, Goldilocks climbed into the medium-sized chair, but that chair was much too puffy, and she thought she might never even get out of it. Finally, Goldilocks climbed into the little chair. It was just right. She liked it so much she rocked and rocked until it fell completely to pieces. Now all that rocking left Goldilocks quite tuckered out. Goldilocks went upstairs to look for a place to snooze. There were 3 beds. "I don't mind if I do," said Goldilocks, hopping into the first bed, but the head of that bed was much too high. Next, Goldilocks climbed into the medium-sized bed, but the head of that bed was much too low. Finally, Goldilocks hopped into the little bed, and that bed was just right. She immediately fell asleep, but didn't notice the bears come home. The bears were mighty hungry, but when they went inside, they could scarcely believe their eyes. "Someone has been in my porridge!" cried Papa Bear. "Someone has been in my porridge!" cried Mama Bear. "Someone has been in my porridge!" cried Baby Bear, "and ate it all up!" Next, the family of brown bears went into the living room. "Someone has been sitting in my chair!" cried Papa Bear. "Someone has been sitting in my chair!" cried Mama Bear. "Someone has been sitting in my chair!" cried Baby Bear, "and broke it to smithereens!" The family of brown bears went upstairs on tiptoe, not knowing what they would discover. At first, everything seemed fine, but then Papa Bear lay down in his big brass bed. "Someone has been lying in my bed!" he cried, and he wasn't amused. "Someone has been lying in my bed!" cried Mama Bear. Then Baby Bear looked at his bed. "Someone has been lying in my bed!" he cried, "and she's still there!" "Now see here!" roared Papa Bear. Goldilocks woke up with a start, but before the family of brown bears could demand a proper explanation, Goldilocks was out of bed, out the window, and on her way home. "Who was that strange girl?" asked Baby Bear. "I don't know," said Mama Bear, "but I hope we never see her again." And they never did. The end.
My name is Sophie, and the title of my story is Stregonona. Once upon a time, in a little town in Calabria, a long time ago, there lived a old lady named Stregonona, which meant Grandma Witch. Although people talked about her in whispers, they always went to see her if they had troubles, because Stregonona did have a magic touch. She could cure a headache with water, oil, and a hairpin, and she made potions for girls who wanted husbands, and she was very good at getting rid of warts. But Stregonona was getting old, and she needed help taking care of her house in the garden. So she put up a sign in the town square, and Big Anthony, who didn't seem to notice, came to see her. "Big Anthony," said Stregonona, "you must sweep the house, wash the dishes, weed the garden, milk the cow, and feed her. And for that, I'll give you 3 coins, a place to sleep, and food to eat. And remember, don't And remember, don't touch the pasta pot. It is very valuable, and I don't let anyone touch it." "Oh, see, yes, Dragonona," said Big Anthony. So the days went by. Big Anthony did his chores, and Dragonona met people for headaches, husbands, and warts. Then one day, Big Anthony heard Dragonona singing. He peeked through the window and saw Dragonona standing over the pasta pot. He sang, "Bubble, bubble, pasta pot, boil me some pasta nice and hot. I'm hungry and it's time to sup. Boil enough pasta to fill me up." And the pasta pot bubbled and boiled and began to fill up with pasta. Then she sang, "Enough, enough, my pasta pot. I have my pasta nice and hot. So simmer down, my pot of clay, until I'm hungry another day." "That's a magic pot for sure," said Big Anthony. But alas, he did not see Dragonona blow 3 kisses to the magic pasta pot. The next day, when Big Anthony went to fetch the water, he told everyone about the pasta pot. But everyone laughed because they had never heard anything so funny. A pot that cooked all by itself. "You should confess to the priest, Big Anthony," they said. "Such a lie." And Big Anthony was angry, and "I'll show them," he thought. "One day I'll get the pasta pot to cook, and then they'll be sorry." The day came sooner than even Big Anthony would have thought, because 2 days later, Dragonona said to Big Anthony, "Big Anthony, I must go over the mountain to the next town to see my friend, Amelia. You must sweep the house, wash the dishes, weed the garden, milk the goat, and feed her. And for lunch, there is bread and cheese in the cupboard. And remember," she said, "don't touch the pasta pot." "Oh, yes, Dragonona," said Big Anthony, but inside he was thinking, "My chance has come." As soon as Dragonona was out of sight, Big Anthony went inside, took the magic pasta pot, and placed it on the floor. "Let's see if I can remember the words," said Big Anthony. Then he sang, "Bubble, bubble, pasta pot, boil me some pasta nice and hot. I'm hungry and it's time to sup. Boil enough pasta to fill me up." And sure enough, the pasta pot bubbled and boiled and began to fill up with pasta. "Aha!" said Big Anthony, and he ran to the town square and jumped onto the fountain. "Everyone gets forks, plates, platters, and spoons." Big Anthony had made the magic pasta pot work. But everyone laughed, but ran home to get forks, plates, platters, and bowls. And when they got to Dragonona's house, it was so full it was beginning to overflow. Big Anthony was a hero. He filled the plates, platters, and bowls. There was even enough for the townspeople, and some people came back for 2 or 3 helpings, but the pot was never empty. When they all had their fill, Big Anthony sang, "Enough, enough, my pasta pot. I have my pasta nice and hot. So simmer down, my pot of clay, until I'm hungry another day." But at last he did not blow 3 kisses to the pasta pot. He went outside to the applause of the crowd, and he was so busy listening to the compliments that he didn't notice that the pasta pot was still bubbling and boiling, until one of the sisters of the convent said, "Oh, Big Anthony, look!" Big Anthony rushed inside and sang the magic words again. He lifted the pot off the floor, but the pot kept bubbling and boiling. He took a cover and placed it on and sat on it, but the pot raised the cover and Big Anthony spilled onto the floor. Big Anthony tried to shout Big Anthony shouted the magic words again, but without 3 kisses, it did no use. "You must protect our town from the pasta," the mayor cried. "Get carpets, tables, anything that will make a barricade." But that did no use either. The pasta kept bubbling, and the pasta kept coming. "We are lost," said the town people. "The pasta will cover our town." Then Shaganona came home from her visit, and she didn't have to look twice to know what had happened. She sang the magic songs and blew 3 kisses, and then the pasta came to a halt. "Oh, glassy Shaganona," said the townspeople. Then the men of the town turned to Big Anthony and shouted, "String him up!" Now wait," said Shaganona. "The punishment must fit the crime." She took a fork from a woman standing neighboring and handed it to Big Anthony. "All right, Big Anthony, you wanted pasta from a magic pasta pot, and I want to sleep in my little bed tonight, so start eating." And then he did. Poor Big Anthony.
Hi, my name is Ebba. Once upon a time, a creator made a man and woman at the same time so they wouldn't be lonesome. And they got married and lived happily ever after. Until one day, the man went out hunting and couldn't find anything to eat for he and his wife. So he went back home and he started to think, has my wife prepared dinner for me? And he looked around. There was no food. Instead, he looked out the window and he saw his wife picking flowers. He went out to the garden and said in a cold voice, "You think I'm going to eat those flowers for dinner?" And the woman grew angry too and said, "Your harsh words hurt me. I will stay with you no longer." So the woman rushed out to the west. And the woman was walking so fast the man couldn't catch up to her. And the son was watching and took pity on the man. And the son asked, "Are you still mad at your wife?" And the man said, "No, I am sorry for the harsh words I have spoken." And the son said, I will help you." And the sun shone its brightest rays at the top of the woman's feet, and for the first time grew ripe red raspberries. And the woman was so mad she didn't even see them. She kept on walking towards the west. And the son said, "I will try again." And and he shone the brightest rays at the tip of the woman's feet, and for the first time grew blueberries. And the woman was still so mad she didn't even see them. So she kept on walking. And the sun said, "I will try one last time." And the sun shone his brightest rays ever. And at the tip of the woman's feet grew ripe red strawberries. And the woman knelt down to pick up a strawberry, and she tasted the ripe red strawberry and the sweetness of it. And she said, "I will pick these for my husband." So she started picking them, and the man finally caught up to her and said, "I am sorry, my wife, for the way I spoke." And the woman, instead of talking, she handed up a ripe red strawberry. And to this day, it is true that the Cherokee people, whenever they taste ripe red strawberries, they remember the kind how they should respect each other in friendship. And they always remember that they should always speak kind words to each other. The end.
Cats can purr,
But they're not perfect,
dogs have paws,
but they're not flawless.
rabbits have fur.
Go no further.
Nobody's got it all. Cows can move,
Can't taste the music.
sheep succeed on one condition. Believe in yourself, know this admonition. Nobody's got it all. Turkeys can gobble, forget about the IQ. Ducks can wobble because their feet are just two. Hens can squabble, not much else to do, but nobody's got it all. Two frogs have it all.
Nobody.
Two dogs have it all.
Nobody.
Two hogs have it all.
Nobody.
Nobody's got it all. So don't you sweat if your team has no power. Don't you fret if your mini waltz takes an hour. You'll succeed yet. You'll blossom like a flower, 'cause nobody's got it all. Nobody.